just doing my thing.
Hello and welcome to the Voice of C38. I am Brendan Wyatt. We are casting from room 420.
Voice on the road, baby.
Yeah. The Bayside Tower at Cabana Bay Resort. We got pool view. It's kind of shitty outside, so we can't be at the pool doing it.
Hold on, it's Florida. It's a little overcast. It's not shitty.
It's shitty for Florida standards.
It's bad on us.
Yep. So Brian and Tammy are joining me.
Aloha, friends.
Hello.
Yay! Austin would be here, but he chose to play in the parks instead, so he has now given me the free pass to give him shit and question his dedication throughout the rest of the season.
Go.
Oh, I'll wait for my opportune moment. But
Actually,
it starts now.
He better be at the airport, probably.
Yeah. Well, we
Right
chose
now.
to cast when we wanted to, based
Yeah.
on his choice.
We're on vacation time now.
We'll get into the starting 11 here with Tam breaking us the scores. We didn't really get to catch any other games because we were here in Orlando to catch our own game, and then did everything we could to forget about it later. So yeah,
Amen.
let's hear how some the rest of the league did.
All right. Well, Toronto and Houston. Toronto took 2, and Houston was 0.
A good result for Western Conference.
Yeah.
At least the bottom dwellers of the Western Conference.
And then Montreal was 1. Vancouver took them with 2.
That
Doesn't tell you much. Montreal's
no, and
poor.
Obviously having Vancouver win when we're playing them next is, it's hard to judge when they play Montreal either because they're kind of right there with us. But
And then coming in purple is Orlando, and crazy hot weather here. It was miserable. Colorado lost, unfortunately.
yeah, we'll get to that.
I'm blaming the heat. It was sticky
Remember
and wet.
much of that game.
I remember more about the guys around us. But yeah, we'll get to that after the rest of the scores.
And about the fans, perhaps?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have Columbus Crew at 2, and New York City taking them at 3.
So NYC, FC,
Yes,
Yeah.
NYC.
Columbus is.
That's 2 in a row they dropped, isn't it? A little bit of a mini skid. At least it's not 4 in a row.
Or a 6-game winless streak.
Word.
Yeah, next.
Oh. Next, we do have New York
I'm just full of positive.
Red Bulls.
and the Chicago.
The Chicago.
The
Chicago. I like
New
that.
York was 2, Chicago was 1.
Do they play in the MLS?
Perhaps. And then you have Toronto beating...
You did Toronto.
Oh, sorry. I scrolled. I'm on my phone. Can you tell?
Happy fingers.
I know. I do have clicky fingers. Dallas tied with Portland.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because both teams getting 1 point right now while we're struggling to get -3.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That's the thing. We're still double-digit points behind those guys.
It's going to be a long climb.
I mean, those two teams are the class of the West, let's be honest.
Seattle's knocking on the door, too.
Wait, Seattle is?
Yeah, as far as where the skill and talent and class is.
They're schizo, man.
I kind of like Portland, that they're kind of doing well this season. Maybe because my brother lives there, but...
Yeah.
Since, no offense, we probably won't make the playoffs, maybe I'll go with Portland. Does that sting a little? Maybe that'll put a little fire under
Are you
some
jumping
feet.
off Wanathon's boat ship already? The burning ship already?
No. Minnesota was 0, and San Jose. Oh my God! I did have a drink
San
at
Luis?
the pool just an hour ago, people.
That's what it was.
It's been a while
San
since she's
Jose
been on the
took
mic.
1. I know I have to do a little bit of backwardness. And then Kansas City was 3, and the Real Salt Lake was 0.
Well, anytime you
Which
see
one would
Salt
you-
Lake lose,
yeah.
that's...
The problem is, Kansas City, since they beat us out there, is on a roll. I mean, it's like we started that fire.
We started a lot of fires. We just can't start our own.
Minnesota, Kansas City, Salt Lake,
Seattle last year.
Ugh. Anywho.
No,
Well, Seattle and New England tied at 3. And then LA and Philadelphia also tied 0.
Which, that's what I mean. Seattle Schizo, they were down 3-0, and they scored 3 towards the latter part of the second half. Good God, man. Can you imagine having an offense capable of that?
Well, that's just it. It was that kind of comeback that made me sit there and really want to get the stats on when's the last time we've made a comeback of any kind whatsoever. When's the the last time that something happened where we came from behind? Not that you ever want to be behind, but it shows character when you can come from behind. And when you're down 3 and come back to make something of it, that's a team that'll scare anybody. No matter how bad you were previously to that, it shows that you have some sort of chemistry, ability, leadership, talent.
You believe in yourself, which is something
and confidence.
This year's team does not, I don't think, at all.
Yeah. So, was that it?
Well, you had the LA and Philly at 0, and then the finals, Atlanta and DC United. DC won at 3, Atlanta was 1. We've been seeing a lot of DC United shirts here.
Yeah, that's true. We did see a couple United shirts. Reminded me that they were still a team.
We saw one of each yesterday. DC and Atlanta.
And Atlanta, yeah.
We should lock those guys in a room and let them.
Right. At first, I thought it was a Hog Warts jersey.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That A kind of looked like a Hog Warts logo, just a little bit. But
have no fear, fans. There will be burgundy in the parks tomorrow. We'll be representing.
Yep.
Well, okay, I will. Sorry.
Oh, I got yellow.
Okay.
I'll wear.
That's the only clean shirt I have left.
You waited and saved the Eric Miller jersey for last.
Yes. Don't spoil it for her.
Oh. Well,
although
by the time you do
then.
the pictures and this drops, it'll know.
That's true.
So
you're welcome, Miller family.
Yeah.
Who played very well.
Yeah.
I have to say.
We got a lot of close-ups of Eric Miller's play, especially in the first half, and there was one there that obviously if he didn't get a foot on, that was in.
It was in the net.
Oh, it was definitely.
It was right in front of us.
So it was kind of I think Miller had a really good game, and the perspective that we had to kind of paint a picture was the ass of Zac MacMath. I mean, we really were looking right at his back the entire time. So we were, our perspective of the game was not full field in that aspect. So, I'm doing the best I can to look through channels and lines on the field to kind of see where balls should be going and guys should be moving to make tackles and fill in space. So I was looking at the game a bit differently. So what I felt like and who I felt like maybe, did well, I felt like Azera was all over the place and really kind of, was working. But the best shot on goal was what Gashi did at halftime trying to peg one of the fans, I think.
That was funny.
But to kind of get to that, I think really what our real issue was, not so much the actual game on the pitch, was some of the DBs that were around us. We met a lot of great Orlando fans outside the stadium.
This is true.
I mean, we partied with Ruckus a little bit at the Broken Cauldron. We were right in front of their march, and it was kind of a nice little experience, and everyone was really friendly with us, really, treated us nice. And then we crossed an intersection, and one douchebag was like, "You're in the wrong city, Orlando." And I'm kind of like, all right, well, we'll just make sure Tam doesn't sell you any weed when you come to Colorado.
That's funny.
He also looked like
somebody in the march.
Yeah.
He also looked like a guy who was going to leave after 20 minutes of the game and go find something to do.
Well, he was the beginning of my theory of anytime someone talks shit to you, they're not a real soccer fan. A real soccer fan is not going to talk shit. I mean, they'll give you, crap in a different way. They're not going to actually talk shit, try to piss you off. That doesn't say a soccer fan to me. Most of them have been like, "How's Orlando treating you? Glad you're here.
Yeah, we hope you lose.
We hope you lose." They're friendly about it. They're not, they're not up in your face with a middle finger, so to speak. Those are football fans.
Quite a few people in the stadium and out who went out of their way to come up and say that to us.
Right, exactly.
Which I would urge our fans to do the same. Even to Salt Lake people, it just makes for a good experience for everybody.
Well, there's a time and a place for giving someone a little bit of razzing, but there was a couple people in our section that I think they were at the game just to try to piss off Tim Howard, who wasn't there.
Happy Gilmore.
There was one guy behind us that for the first 30 minutes or so just insisted on calling MacMath Howard, and the comments that he was trying to make, they weren't even funny. They weren't even like it was just, "You're gonna kick it out of bounds, Howard." By the time, towards near the end of the half, he kind of was getting a little quieter, but it was the one comment where he was like, "Yeah, it's out of bounds," and half the section turned around and was like, "The ball has to be out of bounds." He got quiet after that.
Yeah, he had no idea basically the rules of the game on a certain play like that.
And then just before halftime, there was a guy in the front row really trying to bait MacMath, just trying to get him to say something. Really just, you suck. What are you going to do? Tell me what Howard told that other fan. Really just asking for it.
Yeah.
But childlike comments, it was even odd.
And the thing that frustrates me is this is only going to get worse for our Rapids every stadium they get at. And it's even going to get worse for Timmy. He's going to be home for his first game on Friday. But when they travel again, I can only imagine what those, no stadium is going to be perfect. And if people are getting tickets right behind the goalkeeper just to try to talk some shit, there needs to be some security doing some stuff about that, because
security guards were going by, but they weren't
they weren't saying anything, and that's kind of what maybe that's just the Colorado fan in us. But how can you just let someone yell at someone like that and not expect at some point, and then I think that's what Tim was trying to explain in his letter, is that I understand a little bit of shit talking here and there. You can give someone some crap, and he's heard it probably from some of the best while playing in England. But when it gets excessive and you start making comments about someone's disability or something like that, at some point you're going to react. And that's the thing, is you need to have someone other than a 16-year-old girl standing there with a security jacket in case someone really is trying to bait the keeper or just crossing the line and being a drunken jerk and an idiot, because it takes away the experience of the fans and everyone else in the section too. No one else really wants to hear someone screaming like an idiot at the keeper. We're here to watch a game, not necessarily for you to be some jerk and get the spotlight.
Well, think about 45 minutes of someone yelling at you, and think of the road rage if someone just pulls out in front of you, how pissed you get. That's nothing compared to listening to someone talk shit to you for 45 minutes.
And you can't say
and then you're expected not to even have
Yeah, that's the thing. And he's gone through, I have it on pretty good authority that he's heard racist remarks and stuff hurled at him, and he's let that go pretty good.
And then what people don't know is that he's still making the travel, and he's still signing and meeting with people who with Tourette's. He is really involved with that, and he's doing a good public service, but yet our media and the way people want to look at things, it's all in the negative, and it's just the air is so toxic now.
Yeah, and that's something I want to address real quick, for our fans who hear it from other fans, because we actually talked to a guy right in front of us, and he was kind of making, he was a good conversation. He wasn't being an a-hole, but he made some remarks about Howard, and I said, honestly, and I told him this story, and he's like, wow, that's impressive. So I would encourage all of our fans, when other fans or you see other cities,
people will talk to you because you're a Rapids fan, and they recognize the incident and want to know what we know.
And you can tell them this. For example, I was in Kansas City, and I know for a fact that right after all that went down, Tim went in and met with a family with a young boy who has Tourette's. Met with him, signed his T-shirt, talked to him for a little bit. They were on cloud nine because I rode the elevator with them. Nobody heard about that. Nobody sees that. They just saw the jackass with the YouTube, telling him to F off.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing this weekend. Even though Tim wasn't active, he traveled with the team. The only reason he traveled, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know that.
One of the reasons he still made the trip. Yeah. He could have sat home sitting on a suspension.
Absolutely.
He could have totally,
Hell, Brady did.
Yeah, and
he traveled.
That family that was here waiting to meet him, they didn't have to meet him. He could have made that choice to stay home, but no, he's a good dude. He filled through his obligations, and I think that maybe we should make a point to tell the good stories when we know them, because at least we have a little bit of a voice where, here we can talk about a little bit of a good story and call a douchebag out for being a douchebag. There was a lot of great Orlando fans, and that stadium is freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be replacing their seats by the end of the season.
Oh, my God.
Those were kind of like clip-on seats.
They were like play school.
Recycled plastic or something.
They reminded me of those clips that you put on a chip bag.
They were just...
But, I mean, and honestly, 98% of the fans and people we ran across wearing purple were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was those 2 to 4 people that were just football fans, throwball fans that, like you said, they probably, if the Rapids had put a ball on the net and deflated the sails, there probably would have been a few of those DBs walking out.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen that way. And honestly, Orlando's a good team. And we are a team that...
Yeah, let's face it, they're tops in the league. That's a good club. We knew it coming in.
Yeah, and we really didn't want to get embarrassed. And I don't think we did. I think, honestly, despite the downward spiral, some things are still going upwards.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that was embarrassing was the extra time because it just kind of fell apart.
And that could be due to the humidity.
Yeah.
And the heat. And I did say I really don't think that, the team has been training at match pace, which when you go to a place like Orlando and when you experience the heat and the humidity the way we did, it matters. It really does. Even if you're training at altitude, it matters. I mean, we walked from the hotel to Universal and we're sweating walking in 10 minutes of heat. Can you imagine what it's like actually running at MLS match pace for 90 minutes?
Just sitting in our seats.
That's true. Just sitting in the seats was,
it was
brutal
on that field level.
So, yeah, you can talk all you want about how fit we can be. It's when you're playing in those kind of elements, it's different. It really is. Almost, kind of in a way, it could be worse than, coming to altitude in some ways because, yeah, you get winded and whatnot, but if you do it right, you can get adjusted in a day or two.
We'll talk about the thing we did like was that the substitutions that did come in.
Yes.
And who they were and what they were going to hopefully... I mean, they were the only shot at doing what we wanted to see done.
Right.
I mean, we'd like to see that.
I do think that we cannot really criticize on the substitutions this time. They were everything that I would have done. If anything, a little bit sooner, by a few more minutes each time, because I did tweet, here comes Dale, 5 minutes too late. Like that's the thing that I've noticed, that Pablo will not make a substitution right after going down. We've seen some of the best managers in the world make a substitution before the freaking ball is kicked after they make that goal. Like, all right, here's the guy on my bench. This is what we're going to do. Time to execute plan B.
Well, and
we don't have a plan B. You could see it in Pablo's post-game interview or hear it if you didn't see it. But when, Connor McGahey asked him about the offense and how do we improve on the offense, again, stars in the eyes, not really knowing how to answer the question and kind of answering it in a roundabout way without answering it.
Yeah.
And that kind of sends a message that there really isn't an idea of how to let these guys play offense.
And even sitting there, we could sense the momentum fading away from us.
Yeah.
Remember, we
had it in the first half.
You and I talked about they kept up really well. And granted, they were doing a lot more defending than we would have liked, but they were keeping up. They were keeping the position they wanted to keep. And then remember, you and I said, "Boy, I'd sure like to see us score."
We had a couple moments
because we could tell it was coming.
It was like the momentum was on that teeter-totter a little bit, and we almost, like an arm wrestling match, almost had it past that apex, but it just fell apart.
Yep. And once it did,
yeah, we are kind of probably missing that backbone of the midfield to really kind of help keep that together, and it maybe keep that creative connection between the defense and the offense. And we clearly do have guys on the roster who in the past have been proven producers and goal scorers, but getting them the service right now, I think that might need to be a target for the future.
Well, let's talk about that lineup too, because we were a bit surprised when they came out.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of thought, well...
kudos for trying to shake it up a little.
Yeah.
But...
I kind of liked Gordon getting a little bit of a start. I was okay with Baji being on the bench too, but I also felt like, if Gashi's healthy enough to go, he needs more time. I mean, he could only, even though he's our highest shot taker, he had 15 minutes and got off 2 shots or 1 shot. And same with Dill. Yeah. I mean, he's another one of our high shot takers. And he got 15 minutes, if that. And one of his shots, he had a really good shot, got blocked.
Yeah.
He was right there. We saw it. But, block shot doesn't count.
And you can tell the mentality they came in with, too.
Mm-hmm.
both of them, was to get
To make
into
a
the
spark,
final third and
try to make something happen.
Yeah,
No, we need that for 90 minutes, not when we're down by 1 or at that point 2.
exactly. The time to play it safe is probably over.
The time to play it safe is over when we're down by a goal, period.
Yeah.
With this season and where we are, there's no time to play it safe if you're down by a goal. Make the chances, take the risks.
It's interesting. That game, the second half or the end of that game was kind of a microcosm, I think, because you and I said when everybody came in and we knew where they were going to go for it, we thought, okay, well, he's probably thinking, what's the difference? We can lose 1-0 or we can lose 3-0, but let's go down swinging. I almost look at the season like that at this point. We're almost, well, we're not a third of the way in yet, but we're getting there.
Look at the points difference.
Yeah, we're
and
so
the
far
roster
down. Already, it's almost a point of, well, we're in last place now. Let's go down swinging. I mean, do you agree, or would you like to see us still use that?
In a way, I kind of agree.
Kind of incremental process getting better.
Let's use what we can of the roster, and they've made subtle and not so subtle remarks about the future. So for now, let's just kind of talk about what they can do and show us, mix it up a little bit. Start Dill. Start Gashi. I mean, these are the guys that you're supposed to be hanging on to for a while. If Doyle's not going to be sticking around a little bit, then I'm sorry, Kev. Maybe you got to come off the bench. And Gordo's role has always been off the bench.
Right.
I think the part of that problem is Gordo probably wanted some more minutes, or you wanted to shake it up a little bit, but Pobbs doesn't make the subs at the right time most of the time. It's usually 5 to 10 minutes later than it should be, and that's why one only gets used instead of all three. He made timely subs. He made a good sub getting Gordo out in the 60-something minute. It was right around the 60th. But when they scored that goal, Little Dill should have been, or Gashi, should have been coming onto the pitch before we kicked the ball off.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like that was a little bit, I'm nitpicking too. I mean, at this point, we should just be happy that he made all three subs. They were offensive.
I give him credit for that completely, because that's what everybody's been complaining about and wanting to see. And he went down swinging.
Yeah, which was the first time this season you can honestly say he went down swinging.
Yep.
And I'll take it. I mean, it was a good experience, and at least we were here for a few more days afterwards to go play in the parks and eat some good food and actually to make a vacation out of it, because no one wants to travel 30 hours in a car to watch their team take 3 shots on goal, or 1 shot. So, Tam, I know you had some thoughts, maybe not so much on the game, but...
Oh, mine was just the fan. Those two that were yelling, I thought was kind of...
Well,
but we don't sit down there at the stadium. We have better seats.
Better seats.
Well, I like sitting behind goal because then you see...
humble brag.
Well, you see the shots that come in that you normally wouldn't, because it's a good angle to... I don't know.
It was fun to see a lot of that stuff on the set pieces, and how guys are handling it.
Mm-hmm.
And yelling at Mikkel and Zach, and that was kind of fun to hear.
But where we sit, we're not right in the middle of the fan, so we typically don't hear any heckling. So I don't know if Colorado fans do that or not. I'm sure there's fun heckling. Hopefully there's not the assholes that we witness.
Don't our fans throw down the F-bomb chant every now and then? And
that's different. A chant's different than focusing on one player.
Yeah.
And trying to get a goalie to react.
We do it in a fun way, because you've got 108 that'll usually pick a player on their side, and they'll boo him every time he touches the ball, just to play with him. But you don't hear him saying, tell me what Howard said to the other fan.
It just got old, because all I could think of was Happy Gilmore. So he actually...
Yeah, and the one guy was, you suck.
Right. But I liked how Gashi's spirit... He brings a good energy to the team, whether he starts or comes in later. Coming later, almost you see it a little bit more, because he has that positive energy. I like seeing that.
I would almost think he's got to start Friday.
I sure as shit hope so. Yeah, I absolutely. I feel like we've talked about how this team is missing a leader. Let the clown be the leader.
Agreed.
I mean, really,
well, he's got the bravado to do it.
He's got the confidence, the bravado. He's just, you're right, uplifting. We saw him just, even the way he kind of messes around with players and refs, and I really think that it was halftime, and we questioned whether MacMath maybe have said something about.
It felt like it because that ball came like he almost couldn't have aimed it better towards where MacMath would have told him to do so.
And then he went over and gave him a nice little fist bump, So I kind of think, and if anybody's gonna take a target shot at him,
and he seems like a player that the fans are gonna really like, and the players respect him as well, and that's what I feel like you need in a team captain.
Yeah.
He's funny because I don't know if you noticed it, but after the game, he was the first, I think, of our guys. He walks over and he, with a smile on his face, even though we got beat 2-0, he goes over and shakes the hand of all the officiating crew.
Right.
That's what he does. He comes in. He comes in for post-training interviews. Hey guys, how you doing? Shakes everybody's hand.
Yep.
That's how he is. I've been impressed. I mean, he's a super positive guy. Yeah. I think that's the type of thing that they need to start
showing other people more, because honestly, at this point, people are starting to think that Gashi doesn't want to play. They don't really realize that, okay, maybe he didn't take the off season. He deserved that off season because he didn't have an off season. When he got here, he left his club and got here. There was no off season, and he obviously made a little bit more, and got a little bit of a payday coming here. I think he deserved that off season, but unfortunately, it slowed down his preseason conditioning and whatnot, and he got an injury on his Achilles, and you can't take an Achilles injury lightly. You really got to that's a major tendon, and Connor Casey will tell you, you can't have that rip on you.
No.
That could be pretty much the end of your peak of your career.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like, an illness, you get food poisoning, you get sick or whatever. It's been a bad chain of events for a lot of things with the Rapids, but we can't dog on Gashi for his lack of appearances, because I don't think it's because he doesn't want to play. When you're out at training and you see the guy, he wants to play.
Yep.
You can tell he doesn't want to be sitting. He wants to play. So I don't think it's a choice or anything like that. It's just kind of been a bad run of things, and hopefully we can kind of maybe start to show the happy side of Gashi a little bit more, and maybe we start to see a little bit happier sides of other people.
And to his credit, he's not a powder like we've seen in the past with some other folks. He's not somebody
LP Bay walking off the field if somebody didn't get a pass.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a Gabby or our other person we like. Just things like that. So anyway, but I think, and we saw his family there too, which was good support. But I think Dylan Cerna is going to be another one. I think he's shown that he's ready to go. So hopefully we'll see more of that as well.
Yeah, and I hope that he was given that go before the calf injury, and now that he's gotten in there and got a few more minutes, if he gets home and everything checks out fine, maybe hopefully he gets a bit of a start, because you can't tell me that Dom's better than Little Dill. I honestly think that's Little Dill's position. That's where he should be, right out there.
Well, and the other thing in this,
that creative spark, energy, and service.
Because we even both said it as soon as he came in, whether Orlando knew it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Our offense just got better because the kid's not afraid to pull the trigger from anywhere. And he'll surprise people because they've forgotten about him. I think.
Yeah.
He's going to come back and surprise people again until they figure out. Oh.
I mean, I remember standing there.
That's what he does.
He got the ball about 30 yards out or whatever, and I kept saying, "He's going to fire it. He's going to fire it. Fire it."
Because he looked at goal.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, people. I just whether we like it or not, we're going to have to go with the girl who brung us at this point. So we just need to, the team needs to make do with what they have at this point. Whether we like it or not, I think that's the way things are going to go, at least till the end of the summer.
Yeah.
How do you see it?
Kind of the same way. I'd like to think that we'd have something happen in the summer window, but one of the things that I'd like to know at some point is, why is it so hard to lock down transfers? Is it are we lowballing people? Is it our demographic? Is it the team production? Is it the coach, front office, ownership? Like, why is it we always seem to struggle when it comes to making decent transfers? I'd like to think that since Padraig's come in, we've had some pretty good signings. The Nana Boateng, I think, has so much to show us, but such a huge unfortunate event.
That poor guy's down for a while.
Did pretty dang good last year. I think that if we can get him in the freaking on the pitch and doing what he needs to do, it took him a little while to get involved. We read his scouting report. The guy was pretty freaking accurate. We just have to remember that again, and he needs to get back on the pitch and start getting into the game and seeing the game the way it is in the game.
Well, and there's 1.2 million reasons to put him out on the field at this point.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, but
that's for sure. So we're kind of talking a little bit about the team and what they need to do and what should be done, and a little bit of Friday. So we could just talk about the fact that they play Vancouver. It is a Friday game, which
late kickoff, 8:00
means that we probably should leave this city pretty soon, sometime.
If you're gonna make it back by then.
Vancouver did beat Montreal last week. I think that Vancouver is showing a little bit of scariness, but not like Seattle scary or Orlando scary. But we've done well against Vancouver in the past. There and here. Last year, there was that, the Axel goal that came to, was it extra time, so we could get a point out of that game. That was one of our last 3-goal games, or the only other 3-goal game that we had last year, aside from the Seattle.
Probably our last time we come back.
Yeah, and it probably was the last comeback from behind to gain a point. I can't remember the last time we came from behind to get 3. Might not have happened in the last 4 years.
Hasn't happened this year.
And it definitely didn't happen in 2015. So things to look forward to. I would like to think that, you mentioned it, Gashi. I think it kind of needs to be, I think it would be vital. If he's really that healthy enough to, give good minutes to, he should be starting. And if he doesn't, then, that's messages being sent to the fans in a way, to the players and the fans in some aspect. Like why?
And to him.
Right. Why are certain guys not playing? I mean, you can tell us illness or you can tell us that, but we're not buying it. Like,
he's been ready for a little bit now.
Yeah. Some of us have been out at training. And
you know what? That's the thing is that...
Don't mean close it because then we question things. Like, that would make things way worse.
Yeah, it will. It'll make it worse. And the thing is, we've got, like we talked about coming up, I don't know if it's later summer or in the early fall, but we've got some Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Like I say, this is the roster we have. They're going to need to utilize it. So you might as well get guys involved now and keep them involved because we're going to need them.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Speaking of which, where is Josh Gatt? Has anybody seen him? Please let us know. Joshua.
Milk carton, Josh Gatt.
Man.
Well, what I'm starting to wonder is there something there that maybe Minnesota knew? And is that why they're allegedly paying some of his salary and we got him for, in the eyes of the fans, cheap and bum deal because they got 2 great guys that can be used as consistent starters every day. Meanwhile, we got an international slot that's being used or not being used because of Mo. And then, Josh, which seems like he'd have a lot of promise. We got really excited for 5 minutes, but...
I've loved what I've seen of him in training. I mean,
is this one of those things where his knee flared up and he's not playing because of that? And 5 minutes flares his knee up to where he can't play for a week. And
I don't know.
What do we really got on our hands? Kind of the same thing that we wondered about Papa with his fitness and injury. And
it's no wonder that people are, vocally asking or vocally saying, "Hey, we got the short end of this trade," because so far there's nothing to show that we didn't.
Yeah, and little of anything coming out of the FO to kind of be like, well, we're looking or what, anything like that. All we're getting are comments from Pablo, kind of throwing the rest of the season under the bus.
Yeah,
and
that was disheartening.
If that was, I feel like
I wasn't there, so I tend to believe it more when I'm sitting there looking at him.
Right.
Still, that's disheartening.
I expect. I don't know. I wouldn't say. I just felt like there could have been some more PR involved in that. I don't necessarily know if, and that could be the media again.
Right. Yeah.
Painting a focus on, because we know that the whole thing with Porig and the football manager. It was. He's got a buddy of his who's high up in there and had something to do with the scouting program. It wasn't that he actually uses Football Manager and plays it to find his players, but that's what people want to believe and see and are still thinking that despite what I tell them.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it could be a perspective thing, but what I see is, certain reactions and certain comments made post-game. And I read through certain things, so it's kind of like,
it's a very consistent message anymore,
Yeah.
What's your feelings on that? Let me ask you that. I know, but I want you to tell other people if you want to. It's frustrating you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It I don't know. The transparency, I understand we're not going to get so much of, but I kind of feel like at this point we're being treated like we don't know, or that we're not educated, or that we don't see what the problem is or where the problems are.
We can never understand.
And that we can never understand. And some things we may never understand because we're not on that side. We're not on that side of the business of things. But some of us have had experience playing the game. Some of us have experience coaching the game. Some of us have experience reffing the game. Some of us have experience as being a business part of the game. We're not all just throwball fans being converted to soccer fans.
Yeah, looking to come out and get drunk on a
Those
Saturday.
days are gone and past, and some of us, this one specifically is a behavior analyst, so I'm reading more about what you're not saying than what you really are saying, and I'm starting to see two different things, and that's really kind of making me think that there's some discord and discontent or disconnect between coaching and players and front office. I think that what was a solid unit last year is now 3 different units, and the product on the field is kind of starting to show that. And having Pablo try to paint the bright picture out of a dark alley dumpster fire really is just kind of like throwing grease on it.
And that's something I've kind of asked the last couple of weeks, trying to, is the camaraderie, is the team belief the same as last year? Obviously it's not. And I think that goes along with roster changeover. We're never going to catch that lightning again we had exactly like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the question going forward is, what's being done to try and maintain it? Like some people have asked maybe this week or last week or what have you.
What's to maintain?
I mean, that level. I know you're not always going to be second in the league, 2 points off the supporter shield, but you can sure try.
Yeah, but you say maintain. You don't want to maintain anything right now because it's the worst of the worst.
Right, that's what I mean. I mean, it's not maintain. When I say that, not maintain where they're at.
Maintain where they were.
Bingo.
Where they were wasn't where they belonged. I think that's really kind of what we all need to start accepting.
But it showed you it could be done.
It could be done, and maybe with some proper tactics and maybe 1 or 2 more key players, what I had been saying back in September and July, that without an offense, we're not going to be able to win anything. I think that's really kind of a big thing. So that offense, whether it's tactical or player personnel, needs to be addressed. And they've got 6 months to do it, really, if we're going to talk about this season being over. I don't think we can totally throw this season in the tub yet.
No.
I mean, we're 11 points down, and we don't necessarily like what we're looking at on the roster, and some of us aren't really comfortable with how the coaching is going. Like, there's not really a lot of things looking positive for this team. But I still feel like if I think if Parig had the ability to just do what he needed to do and not caught shit for it, this team probably might be able to get turned around by August.
Yeah.
You know, you give time to allow for certain players and allow for wins and ties and other teams to fall off as well. I mean, it's still early in the season, and a lot of things can happen back and forth. Between injuries and bad luck, this team are where they are. I mean, it's not...
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
no.
They seemed eager and still wanting to win.
Right. This was the best of the last 3 games.
Yeah. Even Watts, I thought, had a good game.
Watts has been pretty solid.
And that's what I said to him afterwards. I'm like, hey, man. I told him, I said, good fight. They did. They fought hard. For 70 minutes, it was paying off.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Once things go south, it's hard for them to claw back and get back on equal footing.
Yeah, and we said it probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 games after we lost Little Dill last year. We're missing Little Dill. This time, it's been about 4 or 5 games since we lost Axel. We're really missing Axel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Axel was, no shit, the stalwart of the defense.
He was that constant. He was that.
You know, Watts has obviously progressively gotten better, but without Axel, I think that really makes a big difference on our defense. And the teams have scored more on us without Axel. So that kind of shows that Axel was the backbone of our defense for a lot of 2016. He played in almost, I mean, if we look at every game Axel played in, I did a thing when Shane O'Neill was playing, and we pretty much won or tied every game Shane O'Neill was in. And then when that whole thing kind of started happening and Shane wasn't playing and you knew he was healthy and there was clearly obviously stuff going on behind the scenes, and obviously the club never said it, but either way, it's a production thing. I think Axel is just as productive as Shane was, obviously, if not better. And so not having Axel in that lineup really created a bit of a hole and maybe some of that disconnect between the midfield and everything else. So it'll be good to have Axel back. I still think we're probably 3 weeks away
from starting, yeah.
Yeah. So and I don't think that's a position that you'd see Axel get a sub in.
No.
I think it's going to be when he's good
Unless
to go.
Unless it's an injury thing.
Yeah, when he's good to go, he's going to get there. So I still think that, you know, maybe at the end of May, the Memorial Day game, we might be lucky enough to have him back. But I think that we're clearly missing Axel as well. We can't just forget that, you know, Gashy's not playing or hasn't been playing, and Little Dill hasn't been playing, but neither has Axel. And I think that's been kind of key to why teams have been able to score more on us. Our scoring issues and our offense is nothing new. It's been the same problem since 2014.
Yeah.
I mean, we really can't, ignore that. It's been the same problem since that coach or this coach. We go all the way back. There's been no offensive production. Even though we had the lightning in a bottle year last year, no offensive production. And you could look at the stats and look at those games, the 2 games that we scored 4 goals in the last 4 years, there was a different coach in that game.
Was it you that was giving the stat that this year somebody has scored more goals than we've taken shots on goal?
That was Maxwell, Atlanta. Atlanta FC has more goals than we have taken shots on goal. An expansion team has scored more goals than a 20-year-old club has taken shots on goal. Now, obviously, it's about current and the roster at hand. Doesn't matter what another 19 years of the Rapids have done. This year, we have taken less shots on goal than Atlanta FC or United FC has scored.
Atlanta, United,
And I would like to figure out how to word that kind of in.
I think the next couple of weeks will be telling because we have Dylan Cerna back. We have Gashy. These guys are all 100%.
As far as
we have an offense, that's where it's going to gotta come from, because there's nothing else out there.
Yeah.
Richie Perez is down in Colorado Springs.
He got a goal though.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously somebody they're going to bring along slowly.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get thrown in the fire.
Right.
You know, Caleb was not particularly available for this week.
And again, it wasn't something that we were told, and so you had a handful of people going, "Why the hell not?" and whatever, and then you find out after the fact that there was a concussion involved. It just kind of.
He did get a haircut, though, by the way.
Yeah, well.
Thought I'd throw that out there. So you may not recognize him right away, but if you see him out there, you're welcome.
Some people rely.
He had a
on those
vacation
numbers.
haircut like we did.
Yeah.
Did you get one too, Brian?
You didn't notice?
I didn't.
Aww.
I need to get mine. I'm late on this.
You're dead to me.
So, well, do we have any kind of? I mean, this is a vacation podcast, and we still managed to get close to an hour.
Nice.
Do we have kind of any final thoughts? I mean, we didn't really talk much about Vancouver, but I mean, we are on vacation, and some of us chose to play in the parks instead.
I would like to. I would like to welcome the 2 new Ravenclaws to their houses.
Aww.
They just got that figured out. Unfortunately, they were in the wrong house, but hey,
this
man.
is coming from a Gryffindor.
Yeah. I like the color blue, so it suits me just fine.
Miller family, you know what I'm talking about. Go Gryffindor.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Just having fun.
Well, other than that, we will see you guys on Friday out at the tailgate. I don't know who we're going to have.
Yeah, I was going to say, any news there?
I don't know if Matt would know yet at this time either. But obviously stay tuned to our Bookface and Twatter, and we'll try to make sure that we get that out there as soon as we know.
TBD, to be determined.
Right. See you guys on Friday.
Don't flex. I roll deep, don't sleep, we next. All good Rex, got checks on checks. These parties rated XXX. I'm still friends with all my exes. We just out here living reckless, young and restless. Nothing's precious, not enough time to count my blessings.